All right, hey y'all. This is LA Jourdan with High Talk Radio, where we get higher in our conversation and deeper in our thoughts. All right, so today I have the pleasure of having Memphis Mayor elect. Did I say it right?
Oh, candidate,
Candidate.
mayoral
Yes,
candidate.
mayoral candidate. Memphis
Elect means I
mayoral.
won.
I don't know, might be prophecy. You never know. But Memphis mayoral candidate Brandon Price, also known as Brandy Price. How are you, babe?
Pretty good. Too blessed to be stressed.
I know that's right. So let me ask you a question. On the ballot, is it going to say Brandy or Brandon?
It's gonna say Brandon.
Brandy?
Brandon.
Brandon. Okay. Now, so tell me a little bit about your history as far
Yeah.
as activism goes, politics. What got you here?
Well, I always been someone who volunteered for the community. Uh, always fed the homeless.
You're fading out. I can barely hear you. Talk up a little bit.
I said I always fed the homeless with my father, and I did, during my early college years, worked for a nonprofit called Knowledge Bliss, where we basically teach kids after school for after school programs in South Memphis and make sure they're well fed and taken care of. Um, I pretty much that was pretty much my activism until uh, 2020 when well I'm sorry, go back a little further. I wanted to start organizing in the workplace back in 2016 when my uncle Chris Higginbottom was crushed to death working at FedEx. And
Oh, wow. That
so
was your uncle.
yes, that was my uncle.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
pretty much questioned the very basis of our society, and because like something like that could still happen in this day and age. That's something you hear in the history book. You don't really hear people die on the job like this in such a way.
Hmm.
He died uh, 2 days before, and they didn't find his body till Thanksgiving
Lord
Day.
have mercy.
So I basically questioned everything I've ever thought, and I left school and just started working full time so I can be close to my family.
Hmm.
And I pretty much did that till 2020 when we went on lockdown, for quarantine for COVID-19. And
Right.
but prior to that, I was planning on quitting my job because people were talking about a pandemic occurring, and
Hmm.
they expected us to go back to work. They expected us to go to stay to work and stay on our jobs. So everything wasn't real. Nothing was real until Kobe died, and nothing was real until a celebrity got sick. So before then, they essentially left all the workers, all the working class people to die on the job. So I became quickly disillusioned again and decided to. I I quickly I quickly left my job again and became disillusioned. I became disillusioned and I decided to try to quit my job, started a church to help end homelessness and try to combat
Wow.
a
Hmm.
bureaucratic, redlining, red tape that stop people voices from being heard.
So you've been through a
So
lot of like different situations and
yes,
faced a
yes,
lot of red tape, huh?
yes. There's a lot of barriers for people to get access to the things they need, and
Hmm.
our system is not there to help people. It's really there to maintain poverty, and to maintain poverty to make easier to assess workforce. You know, uh,
Okay. Okay.
a lot of people don't understand that the unemployment is another whip on people's back to make sure they're more compliant on their you know the bosses or these jobs, these everyday jobs. It makes them more compliant.
Well, that's
People
something
do
we're going to get into. That's something we're going to
yes,
get into for sure.
yes.
About the unemployment and what you plan on doing about that, and what are some solutions that you may be able to bring to the table. Okay, so I want to address the, I don't want to say the elephant in the room, but it kind of is, right? So when a lot of people meet you in person or they see you online, you dress very differently, right? And you are actually in the LGBTQIA community, right?
Yes, I guess you could say
Okay. Okay, what is your title?
title.
Am
I
I
don't have
saying it
a
right?
Well, I don't have a title. I'm not a king or queen or lord of any type of empire or such. So I don't really have a title. I guess
Well,
you could
what
say,
what am I what letter are you? What letter do you identify as? That's what I'm trying to say. What letter do you
well,
identify as?
well, that's the thing about the LGBTQ plus INA too. There's no one thing people can be. You can be more than one thing. That's why we have the rainbow. It's a spectrum. You understand? I am, I guess you say I'm bisexual. I am pansexual. I, you know, polyamorous. I'm transgender. I, and I'm also getting back in touch with my native roots. So you can also say I'm a two. That means two is short for two spirited.
Mm-hmm.
That's something people really kind of erase out of the whole conversation that one, a lot of us here in Memphis are aboriginal to the city. I done some research and talked to some family members who are already in the know, and
Mm-hmm.
my people have been in the city before the city was built. So this is very interesting.
Now that's
To
very interesting that you would say that because um I think more recently, and by more recently, I mean especially within the last 25 to 30 years, you guys have made major strides. And I want to say, you did say that you were in fact transsexual, right?
No, that's an outdated term. I'm
What is the
transgender.
term? Transgender, yes.
Transgender. Yes.
Okay. Transgender. So would you be the first transgender candidate on the ballot for mayor in Memphis?
Well, honestly, you never know with how they erase history. But as far as my knowledge, I am.
Wow. And to my knowledge, that is historical. That's a very historical fact about you we just learned today. Now, but that is a topic that I want to touch because more recently, in the last year, they have tried to ban LGBTQIA rights in here in Tennessee. Right? Now, I'm not really hip to all of the laws or just the persecution that you all have dealt with. I'm not really hip to all of that. I consider myself an ally, but I don't live the lifestyle, so I don't know what you all go through. Is it okay if we shed a little bit of light on that? What you all go through as far as red tape from the city down here?
Well, there's honestly not a really monolith culture of the LGBTQ. Um, you can go through harassment. You can get picked up by police.
Mhm.
Um, you can get hurt, shot, killed for just being yourself. I personally been sexually assaulted by a sheriff deputy inside a county commission building. I
Were
was
you
invited.
blackmailed in any type of way? Do you feel, or well, not necessarily blackmailed, but do you feel as though you were targeted because of who you are?
Well, yeah, you can't really blackmail somebody uh, once they're at fault.
Right.
I think that's the point of. I think that's the point of these laws in the first place, because at the end of the day, it's ultimately about power.
Mm-hmm.
These people and seats and organizations, they all want to hold the power to reign over people, and a lot of them are gay themselves. Uh, you wouldn't really understand, like, depend. Well, you would be surprised uh, that there are people who are within that community that oppress others within the community, and particularly white gay men. or gay men, period.
Right.
You have gay men who date women like for a beard or to remain in the closet, and they
Mm-hmm.
abuse they abuse their women. They're literally abusive as hell because
Right.
they're
Right.
gay. Like a lot of people are gay and they don't know it or they can't show it because
And
that
you
would
feel
take away
oppressed by, have you ever
power
felt
from
oppressed by that? Because I know you've
uh,
mentioned people misusing power.
well, ultimately, yes. I think that's something people go through living in the city or
Mm-hmm.
living in this society, period.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ultimately, we're all oppressed. Like,
By
because we're all,
something. Right.
we all
Right.
make money or capital for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that oppression is mainly there to keep you down so you don't fight for your rights to protect your labor.
So let me ask you this. Now I asked you all of these questions just to try to get it out in the open, right? And I know with us living in Memphis, Tennessee, that's still not in a fully accepted culture, in the city. And you, to my knowledge, being the first transsexual mayoral
Transgender.
candidate, transgender, I'm sorry, transgender mayoral candidate. Um, I really honestly would like to know under your if you were elected mayor under your reign, what exactly
I
could you do
apologize.
or what
You cut out there for a second.
okay. What could you do to help the community while in office? What can you do? Or what would you like to do?
The trans community, the gay community.
Yes, yes, yes. What could you do to help while you're in office?
Honestly, is to help combat, combat oh gracious, discrimination, very discriminating policies that we face
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to housing, public transportation, and healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
One, we need to bring back public housing. I personally work with a multi-state organization called known as Save Section 9.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to lobby Congress to bring back public housing to where people have control over it and have the ability to subpoena people if their rights are violated through public oversight committees. As of right now, Memphis Housing Authority has control of the public housing sector and is really a quasi governmental entity. So that means they have to answer to no one, government or public or otherwise. So this gives them a lot of room to discriminate against people of all flavors of gender,
Okay.
sex, gender, color,
Yeah,
or
so
age.
maybe tougher regulations, on tougher regulations or remove some type of regulation that discriminates against the community. For sure.
Yes.
That's what we can look
See,
forward to from
uh,
you.
the thing is, like, we gay Memphis. What people don't know about Memphis is that when it comes to housing, the court decisions that happen here set an example for a legal basis for the rest of the country. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Essentially, what happens here sets the stage for everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We are the distribution capital of America. We also are the distributing capital of ideas and legal standards. So yes,
Yeah.
public housing was sabotaged and destroyed, over 100 years ago through E.H. He essentially created the projects as we knew them, and which was echoed through all the way to Nazi Germany. He
Yeah.
like invented Kelling, all of these racist policies. We
Mm-hmm.
had good public housing, but as soon as black and brown people started using them, that's when the racism came and they started defunding it and
Mm-hmm.
making it so more prison
Mm-hmm.
like minded, where people wouldn't really could progress out of them.
Okay.
And because it was sabotage and people wanted to divest from them, that's how we came here to now through Section 8 housing,
Mm-hmm.
which is the privatization of public funds, public housing.
Now, public fund, you did just say public funds. I know during the mayoral debate, I remember you and candidate Judge Joe Brown mentioning how the funds in the city budget was being allocated. And you guys kind of had a discrepancy with that, and you preferred, what did you tell me that the majority, not you, but you guys did mention that the majority was spent on defense and not education or so. How are the funds being allocated?
60% of our city budget goes to the police.
Mm,
They may present forms and charts that show otherwise. They try to misrepresent things or
mm,
seem that we're spending money on sewage management. But no, most of our money, a lot of our money goes to police. They support them to buy military grade equipment.
mm-hmm.
And yes, taser shields. Uh, they soon be working on robot dogs. So instead of going to schools, it goes to the sheriff. It's going to the police to basically maintain a militarized police force because they know that climate change is about to rock the house
Time
for a
is
lot of Americans.
definitely changing. Time is
Yeah,
definitely changing.
so it's about
So
to
how
rock.
would
It's
you
about to
do it?
rock the house for many of us here
Mm-hmm.
on the working class level, and
Mm-hmm.
they're basically militarizing themselves to get ready to protect themselves from us.
Well, how would you reallocate the budget
Oh, easy.
if you?
I would also it's just cutting the fat. It's simply cutting the fat from the police budget and reallocating to public transportation. Get so people can get back and forth to work. Easier. It's easier to, for the only thing you have to do is to make a grid system and cut the city into quadrants where you have bus terminals at each quadrant where you can fill in the gaps with each bus. That's one thing you can do.
Yes.
You can do many other things. We can invest in step down generators by the river, which something Judge Brown I agree with him about that we can have power generators by the river where you can cut a trench by the Mississippi and have river water flow down, and we could generate enough energy through the city to power downtown for almost
Mm.
nothing. So we can literally cut the cost of people's power bills and
Mm-hmm.
utility power and utility bills. But this is only one option. We honestly had the technology for over 100 years where we wouldn't need MGMW. So
Well, let
we
me
had
ask you this. Let me ask you this. Um, and I hear what you're saying about, providing more resources and trying to cut the budgets in areas like city taxes and the electricity and water bills. But if we're going to cut the budget,
for the police department.
where do we get the money from? How would you bring more money to the city, I guess?
Honestly, the thing with the generator, we will have enough energy to sell to other cities. That's
Mm-hmm.
one. That's literally one thing we could do.
Can do that.
Uh,
So we can sell
yes,
energy? Wow.
yeah, it's pretty
Wow.
wild. Like there's literally a multitude of ways we can generate our own energy where we can do it at home and not just solar energy as well. Like there's a multitude of ways to do this. But
Right.
like literally,
Okay.
there's a book I've read where they knew about this. They called it uh, um, the prosperity grid, where you have different have energy grids around the globe
Mm-hmm.
feeding into each other, where energy could be unlimited and basically have no
Wow.
utility bills. So like even Nikola Tesla, he designed ways for us to have free
Mm-hmm.
energy, free and unlimited energy. But you have bankers,
Mm-hmm.
J.P. Morgan, he literally divested from him, and everybody made it. They gassed him. Made it
Yeah.
seem like he's crazy. He died a poor man, uh, poor almost homeless man in a hotel surrounded by pigeons.
I've heard about
So,
that. Yeah.
so these are things people hear about, but people don't really process this. That we've had the technology over 100 years,
Mm-hmm.
but like there's patents, there's copyright clauses things that we could be doing right now.
And that's the one thing I really, really like about you, is that you have more progressive thinking, because this is a conservative state. And it being a conservative state, it's a conservative city to some degree, you know. And I think a lot of just what I've heard around town and just over the years, things are the same. And I think a lot of people are getting antsy. We want things to change. I know I do personally.
yes,
Because I'm thinking, like, can we find another way to make the money except for off of the people's backs? And it
yes,
seems like you have solutions for that, and one being
mhm.
electricity and water. And I really commend you and applaud you for that um progressive thinking, because I just I think for me, right, when they started putting bans on a woman's reproductive organs and medical, assistance. And then what the straw that broke the camel's back was the law where you couldn't do drag shows in public, or they did not want any drag queens or LGBTQIA information in schools. And that was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And it just made me realize, like, wait, are we going forward or are we going backwards?
It's a complete regression. And let's not be
Mm-hmm.
fooled here. The ban on abortion, the a ban on LGBTQ history. This is an attack on Black women. They
I j-
know that they
uh-uh.
know that Black women die the most during childbirth, and
That is hard. Yeah.
like when Black women receive the least amount of care when it comes to
Yeah.
prenatal care, and they it's called the birth dearth. Basically, they're afraid that there's not enough white babies being
Hold on. Where are you
born.
there?
You're basically forcing white women to have more babies. There's even a man who potentially working for the CIA, planning on doing a rape day where he assault
That
white women and just
that
rape
is
white
a
women.
whole
It's like
conversation
it's really wild.
for
But it's
another
called the birth dearth.
podcast.
It's
That's a
really
whole thing. Mm-hmm.
it's really called the birth dearth. And Black women were never granted access to femininity. Femininity, as we know today, is literally set for a white European standard, and it's really fucked people money. But it's
I
really,
agree. And I think the
it's
narrative
really
is changing the more and more we fight for inclusion, right?
yes.
And the more
You
and
see,
more the
like
people start to stand up for their rights and realize our power and value is in our voice and in our actions. And I think I really definitely see people like yourself thinking outside of the box, being thinking more progressive, because it's like, how are we going to grow with the same old laws, with the same old actions, with the same old mindset? And you're thinking outside of the box, and I love that. And I know
mm,
you were speaking on unemployment. Now you said the unemployment rate should be 25, 50.
oh,
Is that what you said?
the minimum wage, minimal the rate of production based on the rate of production, minimum
Mm-hmm.
wage is supposed to be 27.50, $27 and 50
27.50.
cents. 27.50.
Wow.
Right now, federal minimum wage is still $7.50.
Yeah.
7.50,
725.
7.25, 7.25.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum wage has been stagnant for over 35 years. It's
Yet
been
prices go up.
as yeah, it's called like a squeeze. Like as wages remain low and
Mm-hmm.
the rent remains high, you have no choice but to work for shitty bosses or bad
Right.
management. It's literally putting pressure on you to maintain the same work life where you can't progress higher in life. And when people are unable to progress, that's how you
Mm-hmm.
know a system is dying. The capitalist system, as we know, is dying. Like we're going to have to get used to something else. We're basically at the point of evolution for economic systems. So
So
that's what's going on.
economically,
Mhm.
I guess I can say that. How would you try to improve unemployment or improve the work life culture in Memphis, Tennessee? How would you do that?
Well, one, we invest too much in work, hustle culture. Um, ultimately, we need to bring back unions for all the jobs that are left. To
Yeah.
bring back union labor. Try to help unionize some of these jobs, such as the nurses, FedEx, some of these places where people are stuck in work in it. But besides that, I feel that maybe we should simply just give people the money directly. We give all these tax works and tax cuts to all these people who come in and use our labor, but people in Memphis have not been given anything back. You ever heard of something called the UBI? It's basically called Universal Basic Income. It's something that Andrew Yang brought up during his, I believe, 2016 or his 2016 or 2020 race.
Hmm.
Basically, universal basic income. Essentially, you pay the people here to simply live here. Universal. They're talking about doing this for the U.S., but essentially, you pay people for the things that they bring already to the society, that like your resources that you extract from them without them even doing anything. In Alaska, that's the oil companies and stuff like that. Here in America, there's a number of things that they make money off of us for simply existing. One of them is data mining. Like they make a lot of money off of data mining. Basically, they extract your data, what you do, your habits, so where you go, where you sleep, how long you sleep, what you eat, what you buy, and they sell it to other companies. And no one is getting paid for that except the people at the very top.
So
That's what's going on.
definitely, and what it sounds like you're saying is we definitely gonna need a whole new.
System.
It just has to be a whole new system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's called revolution. But
I think that's a tough task though.
revolution doesn't necessarily have to be a violent one. It doesn't necessarily have to take that much effort. It's literally, if we do things right and we can like simply vote it in, not vote it in like, oh, we're doing this whole system change and all this stuff like that. No, only thing you're doing is voting in. Hey, people are willing to say, hey, we need Medicare for all. We need homes for all. Like we just give homes away. Let people have their land. Oh, reparations. Give the land back to the natives.
This
That's literally,
this that's
yeah,
a
yeah. It's very scary, I know, but like people are not used to it. Like we grow up in a culture that worship work. It's okay
and
to
it's
do
hard to
work.
break out of it. It
Yes,
is. It's hard to break out of it.
but
Yeah.
it's honestly, we work now than we ever have uh, for the past 200 million, 200. Oh my goodness, so many years. It's for the
We're
past
forever
250,000
grinding.
years.
Yeah.
Past 250,000 years. I won't say million. Past 250,000 years of human history, we work now than we ever have.
A
I think
thousand times harder.
and honestly, we people, we need to take time for ourselves to live life something beyond work and laboring for someone else. Not getting rid of work at all, because you live in a body. When you move, you're working. You breathe as work. Maybe we should take that labor and do it something for ourselves, raise our families, build
Now
our communities,
let me
things like
touch
that.
on that thought though. You're saying, like you said, people do work and they hustle and they grind all day long, it seems,
Mhm.
whether you have one job or 10, it just seems like everybody's grinding and working hard, hard, hard. Now, there comes a time when Memphians want to take a break. You know what I mean? And they want to relax and they want to have fun.
Mhm.
Um, but safety here has been a problem.
Yeah.
Crime has been a problem. Robberies have been a problem. Shootings have been a problem, and people are afraid they can't even relax, and have fun outside of their own homes. And some of them not even in their own homes. How are you going to fix the crime? Well, I know you can't fix it,
No, it's
but
easy to
how
fix
can
the
you
crime.
regulate it?
Oh, it's so easy to fix the crime.
You think
The crime.
so?
Oh yes.
All right,
I
talk to
talked to
me.
I talked to you once before about this book, Bill Street Dynasty.
Yes,
It basically how Memphis was saved. It's basically was through crime. Crime saved our city charter. Like Robert Church Senior. he saved our city charter when we lost so many people through the yellow fever. He did it by one. He was America's first black millionaire, and he did it by pimping white women. In like the court system as it exists now, it is mainly there to create more slave labor.
Hmm.
That's what it is. But in the past, they simply just fine people for what they do, like prostitution and gambling and stuff like
So
that.
what can you
We're gonna
do
well,
to like?
let me finish. Like, because like I said, you can do a lot of things. One, you have to like uncriminalize crime as we know. Yes, shooting people, murder, that's wrong, and that needs to be dealt with. But I'm gonna put a pin in that and get back to that. But things like gambling, prostitution, drugs need to be decriminalized. If you go to Oregon, they pretty much decriminalize all the drugs and have clinics where people can go to get their
And we
high and
never
all that.
hear about Oregon's crime. We don't
Oh
hear
well,
about
they
no
got
crime in
crime. Oh,
Oregon.
they got crime. It's called white supremacy. Like they have lot of white supremacists. That's what's going on in Oregon and Portland, Oregon. Like there's a lot of white people, and a lot of them are very racist. That's the truth.
Allegedly,
No,
allegedly.
no, no. There's a lot of white supremacists out there. You got some people.
There are. I've
You got
literally
you got some people. You ever
been,
heard of the
yeah.
sons? The sons of Adam. You ever heard of some? They want to start a race war through nuclear war. So that's like
We not gonna talk about them.
there's one of many white
We're gonna let
supremacists
them
here.
die out.
No. There's many of them here in Tennessee. We got two factions. There's two factions, two types of white supremacists. There are multiple factions. There's two types. You have the pagan white supremacists, and you have the Christian white supremacists. Literally, it's really wild. Like
We ain't gonna get him no justice by giving him no promo. We
I,
ain't gonna
I
get him no
understand. I
justice.
understand. I understand. But
I
these some
know.
things. These are things that
Hmm.
people want to be aware of, and a lot of them are involved in our politics. And the best way to sabotage a city is to sabotage it environmentally. You
Right,
basically let
right, like
corporations
turning people
pollute.
against themselves.
Well, no, not just that. You basically let corporations pollute your area.
Oh, okay.
They've basically been slowly trying to sack the city of Memphis. A lot of Tennesseans, the rest of Tennessee is afraid of the people here in Memphis. So they basically do whatever they can to sabotage, make us sick, make us think irrational
Do you
possible.
think, and it's,
Going back to Robert Church, he
yeah.
did something that no one has ever thought of ever doing or ever happening in the
Hmm.
city of Memphis. He essentially made it to a city where white people would want to be black. This was during a time right after slavery. A white man, it was a famous story too. A white
Mm.
man from well affluent family pretended to be black for 5 years. No, it's like so
Well, it is a great thing to be us,
but
right?
I want right,
It's a
right,
great
right.
thing to be
But like I said, I
us.
want to go back to time. Like if you decriminalize drugs, if you legalize prostitution, like one venereal diseases, sexually
Wait, whoa,
transmitted diseases,
jump back. Hold on before you move any forward. Legalize what?
legalize prostitution. Yes, like I'm not saying we have
You
state
mean like
run
Las
prostitution.
Vegas? You mean like Las
Yeah,
Vegas?
and by doing that, you lower sexual transmitted diseases. You want that
That's
right?
a
You
jump
you
out there. That's a jump. That's a jump. That's a jump.
That's the
That's a
thing, though.
jump.
Like that's a problem that we had in the past. Like ultimately, the way it is, get the prostitutes to unionize. See, ultimately, it's about labor. Like the whole issue with our society is exploitation of our labor. And for people who don't get paid for the work they do, it's going to be like women have to do emotional labor. People don't even talk about that at all because
Yeah.
they don't see that as labor at all. But
But it
you also
is. It
have,
is. That's why therapists exist.
like I said,
Emotional labor is
prostitution,
heavy.
sex, sex work is work. That's what it is. It's labor.
I
like
agree with
because
you.
it's
It is
illegal.
work, but I don't know
Because
now.
because because it's illegal, people have to go underground. We saw that during prohibition. Like literally,
I
when soon
mean,
as
what
soon as
does that
alcohol
really
became,
matter though if it's legal or not? What does it
I'm
really
like
matter?
I'm trying to explain to you. Like during prohibition, when it became legal to make and sell alcohol, you had the gangsters come out. You had Al Capone. You had Lucky Luciano. You had these people who took advantage and made black markets for it, which made it more dangerous and made it unregulated. People were going blind for drinking crappy whiskey. You understand? So, like, if you
Okay.
take these things out, take these things out of the hands of organized crime and regulate it, you'll get rid of things like sexually transmitted diseases.
I
You'll get
don't
rid of
know. I don't know about that one.
it's
And
literal.
I say that because and like I see what you're saying and I understand where you coming from because that is possible. They could help. I mean, I understand where you coming
Yeah,
from. But on the flip side of the
right.
coin, I know, with just being from down south, one thing we know for sure is how the system will mess you off, right? And one thing we worry about is that, like for instance, I heard some people saying this probably for years now. What if they regulate weed? Then they start tampering with the weed. You get nervous. You know what I mean? It makes you nervous. Like, do you start tampering with the markets? Because that is how prohibition happened too. You started tampering with things.
That's the thing. They tampered with it when it became illegal and made it unregulated. That's the craziest thing about that. We need to live. Imagine a world without these markets, and maybe people can grow their own
A
weed.
free world.
Nothing's free. Nothing is free. But a
I
world
mean,
where
it's a
people
barter. That's the same.
like, is it? That's bartering. You literally, it's that's an exchange. So a world where,
That's
yeah,
the
you
only
own
thing
your
way
own
things
labor.
gonna be free.
I mean, that's not really free. That's bartering. That's totally different. Free is totally different. Like that's because
What I'm saying in this world,
barter is
in
the exchange of energies.
yes, I know, but what I'm saying is you're contesting. No, you're saying you want more markets to be more open to people, right? Instead of being regulated. I mean, instead of being criminalized, you want them to be more open. But I mean, regardless of whether you open them up and make them give people more access or whatever, it's got to be some system in place to where people can make money. You know what I mean? Can make a profit
People
in
still
some
make
type of
money.
way.
People can still make money, but you can have a system where they actually protect people. Like they said, what you're saying now, people said the same thing about the meat market. Like literally, there were people eating dead bodies, and it was getting chopped up because it wasn't regulated. You know what I mean? And that,
That's wild though.
yeah,
That's a
no, like
wild
literally,
situation though, right?
like right now, we don't have a regulated market with the pharmaceutical companies, and they're basically writing scripts that getting people hooked up on these pills, dope, all type of things. It's just selling dope to
Okay,
people.
look, we gonna get right back to that. I got 1 minute left for recording, so let me um get it back started, and then we're gonna finish talking about that. We're
Okay,
gonna finish talking about that. Okay, so we'll be right back. All right.
okay.